As we kickstart this edition of EVCon India, I, on behalf of Blue Circle, would like to take a few moments to thank all our esteemed partners for putting their shoulders to the event. A special thanks to our main sponsors, Log9 Materials and Hero Electric, knowledge partner Alvarez and Marcel for creating the white paper, investment partner Indian Angel Network for co-authoring the Startup Ref program, accelerator partner Huddle, and real estate partner JLL. It's been an absolute pleasure working with their teams and getting their valuable support. Also, a big shout out to all my team members for working all the hours to pull this off. Welcome, everyone. Thank you, distinguished audience, for joining us, most of whom are CEOs, CXOs, and senior leaders. Many among them are our members and are repeat visitors to our webinars. This is very encouraging and motivates us to provide even higher levels of dialogue. For those of you who are new with us today, India-based startup Blue Circle is the world's first sector-specific opportunity and knowledge exchange networking app for business leaders. It is somewhat like the sector-specific LinkedIn for senior leaders, a space to have meaningful conversations, connect with over 15,000 plus rapidly growing community of like-minded leaders from India and across the globe, exchange high-quality curated content, and access business opportunities across 20 sectors, such as e-mobility, energy, real estate, healthcare, and many more. Those leaders among you who are interested, please do join us. I will share the link to the app in the chat section and will soon be sending out invitations to our new guests. Coming back to today's discussion, it is a privilege and a pleasure to welcome today's keynote speaker, who is handpicked because of the think input and the rich experience he brings in. Without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce Mr. Anant Badjatya, CEO of Sun Mobility. He's a general management professional with over 2 decades of experience across diverse industries. His most recent role was as Group CEO with Stallion Group, a 51-year-old diversified conglomerate with interest across automotive, rice, steel, fertilizer in West Africa. Prior to this, Anant was the Group CEO of ANC Holding, a UAE-based conglomerate with interest in industries ranging from education, food, contracting, steel, timber, to general trading. And now the discussion which we will talk about is battery swapping in 2 and 3 wheelers in India. Now I request Anant to please begin the session. Thank you so much.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much, Gautam, for your kind introduction. Today, we wanted to cover and talk a bit about battery swapping and why it is the future of 2 and 3 wheeler mobility in India. So, future of sustainable mobility, as I was talking about, it's electric, shared, autonomous, connected, and powered by renewable energy. And what I said was that, okay, for the 2 wheelers and 3 wheelers, we might not see autonomous, but we will definitely see a lot of electric, a lot of shared, connected, and it will be powered by renewable energy the way investments are going on. And then mobility and India are very, intertwined. There's a lot of things that are dependent on the Indian GDP and how mobility is defined. 80% of our energy security is imported, almost $160 billion by 2030. And the kind of air pollution that we're talking about, there are more than 1.6 million people die annually. And the cost of to Indian businesses is around $95 billion. That's 3% of the GDP of India. Very, very high. But the good thing is, we have a very low cost of new energy, abundant sunshine, and many other things are going on. Government is giving a serious push to, electric, the FAME 2, and many other new initiatives that are coming along. Then India's ideal conditions for EV adoption, because 85 to 90% EV, the vehicles are 2 wheelers and 3 wheelers, so which are smaller vehicles and slow speed. And auto industry is almost 7.1% of GDP by 2030, $350 billion. So you see the future of mobility, the way it is intertwined with India is fantastic. So overall, if you look at it, this graph is very interesting. FY21, we had 126,000 EV vehicles, more than 300% increase from FY21 to FY22, 387,000. In the Q1 of FY23 alone, we are at 180. Which is like you will be increasing by almost 100% this year. So the pace of EV growth is electric. If you look at by 2030 from the CEW report, will be anywhere between 61 million to 112 million EV vehicles on road, total and cumulative, which is huge. So overall, a lot of the studies have been done by Frost and Sullivan, KPMG, McKinsey, that which say by FY25 alone will have almost 25 to 30% two-wheelers and three-wheelers will be electric on the road. So it's a huge, push that's going on. And OEMs are investing heavily in the EV segment. You will hear about Hero Electric investing 700 crores, Hero Motorcorp and Google announcing a strategic tie-up. Saudi Arabia's Abdul Latif just talked about investing $220 million in Griff's Electric Dampier, Ether Energy raising money, Ola Electric raising money. A lot of work is going on. Bajaj Auto is planning to invest 1,000 crores. So everybody is jumping into this, and which is fantastic, the kind of buzz that we are seeing in the EV space these days. And the fleet operators are ramping up as well. Amazon wants to roll out electric rickshaws. Flipkart wants to roll out electric rickshaws. IKEA is working towards it. Swiggy and Zomato are working. Big Basket is. They do see a lot of incentive in moving over from ICE vehicles to EV vehicles. And what is the opportunity? This is an interesting slide, right? Every year we are selling almost 3 million cars and almost 350,000 e-rickshaws, 700,000 e-autos, 21 million bikes, 700,000 LCVs. Almost 85% of the mobility in India is two-wheelers, three-wheelers, and buses, I was saying, which would mean that by 2030, more than 60 million of these EVs will be on the roads. So the opportunity is just fantastic. So what are the challenges that electrics face today? There are the 4 key challenges that we are talking about. High cost, battery packs makes it very, very costly to move to EV. Range anxiety, you were always worried about what is the range that you'll get from a battery pack, from a fixed vehicle. Long refueling time, overnight charges, 4 to 5 hours charge, 3 hours, even fast charging, minimum fast charging we're talking about is 30 minutes, 40 minutes. Lack of infrastructure, how many charging stations are there, insufficient charging stations. So these are the key issues, when you think about when you want to get into EV. So what are the customer demands? The customer demands are shared mobility-oriented products, new form factors, because most of these are about, last mile deliveries and, gig workers. Then they demand new form factors and specialized vehicles across 2 3-wheeler segments that are affordable and efficient, perfect for fleets, shared mobility platforms, and first mile, last mile delivery businesses. These are the key areas. They need a viable cost structure, lower upfront and operating cost, as similar to ICE vehicles. I think EV today is very expensive upfront, and then the cost goes down. But you want to see how you can variabilize the cost, or how you can detach the cost, reduce the cost upfront. Range flexibility, ability to operate the vehicles without any range restrictions, and flexibility to pay for the required range as per usage. Quick refueling. You don't want to spend overnight or 4 hours. Is there a way you can do it much faster? And hassle-free experience, zero cost associated with battery replacement, because one of the key issues is what will happen after 3 years or 4 years when the battery goes back. So there are new business models, technologies, and I think that's where the swapping comes into picture. This is an interesting take on this. When you're driving up to 60 kilometers, 50, 60 kilometers for personal usage, to office to commute, kids school pickup drop, low mileage up to 50, then you're actually good, having AC home charging, fixed battery vehicles, right? But when your use case goes from 70 kilometers and upwards, when you're talking about commercial cases, the application of delivery, high usage, usually 60 to 130 kilometers, then you're talking about swapping. That's when, because in swapping, you're talking about infinite. You can be doing 250, 300 kilometers with the swapping network. Same is the case with the buses. For school buses, you might be talking about AC charging. Then you talk about distance travel for employee commuting. If it is less than 120, 130 kilometers, again, you can do DC fast charging. But when you talk about intracity buses, application for public commuting, very high usage, then you're talking about swapping. So there is a use case for buses as well, which we are working on. So overall, battery as a service, if you look at it, basically, sorry, let me just take a step back on this. The cost of electric vehicle is higher than a cost of a conventional vehicle, and if you look at cost parity today. But once you take cost of energy into the equation, it's actually it enables affordable EVs. It's fueling better, faster, and cheaper. So this is where in a the technology stack for any swapping player would be a very smart. I will talk about what we are doing at Sun Mobility, but you need a very smart battery, which is long life battery at the lowest cost, which can do multiple cycles. You need a quick interchange station, interoperable stations aligned for a quick swap, and you need a plug-and-play solutions with various OEMs. You want to integrate with the big good OEMs in the country, from two-wheelers and three-wheelers, so that you have multiple offerings. And that's how a good swapping player will work around to create a situation, to create a stack wherein a good battery, a good station, and a good offering. So what is it that is there for the value to the stakeholders? For the EV user, you're talking about a very low upfront cost of the vehicle. You are taking away the battery from the equation, and the cost of the battery goes down by almost, of the vehicle goes down almost by 40-50%. You're talking about pay-per-use model. You're paying for like you're paying for the petrol, you pay for energy. There's a minimum downtime. You can actually swap in less than 2 minutes. Like you're doing, you're filling up your petrol, and it's unlimited range by the virtue of swapping. What is there for the OEMs? There's lower cost of EV development, because you don't have to invest a lot on battery development and the BMS and all, because that's ready-made. You are very quick to the market. We are working with more than 15 OEMs, where we can work very closely to bring a product to the market in less than 2 to 3 months. And the higher sales due to lower upfront cost. When the vehicle is costing less than 40% of what the original EV vehicle fixed battery would be, the cost is much lower upfront. Charging cum swapping network, the OEM doesn't have to, first of all, invest, and then multiple OEMs will be shared. The cost can be shared across multiple OEM platforms, because the swapping network will be used across multiple OEM platforms. For the nation as a whole, all basically batteries with longer lives used in battery swapping model allows for six times asset utilization. So better asset utilization, lower use of lithium use per vehicle, smaller batteries. So that means lesser incentives required. More vehicles can be supported using the same corpus. EV charging business, overall is a swapping infrastructure investment amortization. We are across the multiple vehicle platforms. That's the key thing. It enables a faster ROI on the battery, because you're spreading across multiple OEMs and multiple batteries. And you're talking about, a very quick scale of EVs with low real estate investments and energy infrastructure. So a lot of companies in India today, the entire ecosystem is growing very fast. More than 50 leading companies in India are one way or the other associated with battery swapping. You talk about OMCs like Indian Oil and HP, and everybody is getting into tie-ups. Sun Mobility has tied up with Indian Oil, HP has tied up with Hero, Reliance is tying up. Amazon, all the fleet operators, are working very closely with the battery swapping operators. We have a lot of news about Amazon, Flipkart, Smarty. The discoms are working very closely. We have tied up as Sun Mobility with Tata Power. Technology partners, Exide, Exicom, Bosch. Battery swapping companies, OEMs, Ashok Leyland, So the entire ecosystem is heating up across the board. And there are very many opportunities ahead. If you look at it, auto industry, as I was talking, almost 7.1% of the GDP of the country, 350 billion by 2030. So a lot of opportunities there in terms of products, new two-wheelers, three-wheelers, new specialized vehicles, first mile, last mile. 50% of the BOM will be different for an EV. That's where a lot of people, can see a lot of opportunities that there to develop a newer powertrain for motors, controllers, transmissions, chargers, DCs, AC, DC converters, BMS. So entire supply chain for $75 billion work is there. There are new mobility solutions are going to be created, and there's a lot of value add there. You're talking about a shared mobility solution, charging infrastructure, energy integration. So the domino effect of migrating into EV and battery swapping, there's so many new businesses that are being created. And energy will be replaced by batteries, solar, charging, swapping stations, the energy market for shared mobility. So overall, the thing is, ecosystem of the technology will be charging, battery swapping, V2G, connected car, big data analytics. The question is, what I want to show is, in NYC 1900, you were seeing a lot of horses on the left-hand side. Within 13 years, the entire space changed. were changed by cars. So the change just takes place, and I think if it could happen 120 years back in 13 years, the pace of change would be much faster today.
Of high costs and range anxiety. Powered by a next-gen lithium-ion battery, Ape E-City has a swappable battery that eliminates long charging times, is compatible with the latest e-infrastructure platforms, and lowers the cost of operation significantly. So, no more range worries. Simply swap and go.
The guy was able to swap and get out. So this is, a short presentation, Gautam, everybody, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you so much. It's a very thorough presentation. I'll move on to the question and answers. We've got 2 as of now, and we wait for more. First question is from Kapil Sohane. Saying, hey, Anant, Kapil this side. I was looking forward to know, how do you look at the end of life battery in terms of recycling and upcycling? Yeah. And also, how do you look at the battery standardization?
Yeah, so very good question. See, we are working on a very circular economy. So our batteries that we are talking about, so they would last for 7 to 8 years, right? And after that, there are very many applications that you can put them to use too. So we are talking in second life, you're talking about maybe they can be used in home automation, in solar farms where they can be used for battery storage as inverters, in home, and at the airports, in the buggies, at the golf courses. So there are very many applications where after the vehicular, after they have used in their first life, where they were required to be very solid. In the second life, they can, even with the kind of discharge that has happened, they can be much more useful. I in a very layman term, think of it as a very good player like Saurav Ganguly in their heydays can be a fantastic batsman, but in a second life can become a coach or a commentator or even a BCCI chairman. So a lot of work is there. And I think, so in second life, a lot of applications are there, which we are working on. We are already working with, Bangalore Airport and Delhi Airport to see how we can use these batteries in their second life, which don't require them to be so sturdy.
Understood. Thank you. I hope, Kapil, this answers your question as well. I'll move on to the next one from Akshay. He says the infrastructure required for the battery packs is immense and much more complex and expensive than charging. Why is it still being considered the #1 solution for EV adoption? Wouldn't it be more feasible to have fast charging stations?
Again, see, there is no exclusion of one to other. There will be fixed charging, point charging, swapping, coexisting. Now, think about it, 20 years back when CNG was introduced, even with the 10-15 minute refueling time, you would see queues on the road spilling over. When you're talking about cities like Delhi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Bangalore, they are very heavy, very expensive real estate. Now, when you put up even a fast charging with a 10-minute fast charging, just imagine how much throughput can you really give to a petrol station or any place, and what the queue could be. You really need to have a quick turnaround within less than 2 minutes for the people to come in and get out. So swapping is very important for, I think, an intracity application, but on a highway or this thing, you can talk about fast charging and point charging or long distance also. It's a play of both, and there will be fast charging stations as well, very good, but fast charging will come at a cost as well, and when you talk about 2-wheelers and 3-wheelers, very the cost becomes, even every $10 or $5 increase is a huge increase when you're talking about in this area. So when you talk about a fast charging solution, we need to see how it is economically built into. In a battery swapping, the capex is high, but it's a one time, it's like if I talk about Sun Mobility, we are talking about less than 100 square foot of space where you can set up a charging station, right? And in a 2x2 grid, you can set up more than 200, 300 in Delhi. If just to give you an example, in Delhi alone today, there are 84 LPG stations or CNG stations, but 200-300 charging swapping stations can cover entire Delhi. So it's not such a big, investment as we think of it, but it's something that needs to be done.
Understood. Thank you. I'll move on to the next one by Rajan. He's given an analysis. He's saying companies like Mercedes-Benz in 1970 Better Place in early 2000s, which is from Israel, I'm assuming, and Tesla in 2013 all tried and failed in the attempt of streamlining battery swapping. Why do you think India will succeed in this?
So very good question, Rajan. India is a unique market. As I was saying in my presentation, 85 to 90% of our vehicles are two-wheelers and three-wheelers, right? Now, this is where battery swapping is very amenable, right? Just as a very layman, a 1 kilowatt hour is 7 to 8 kgs, right? And a two-wheeler will take, let's say, 2 kilowatt hour battery, 13 to 14 kgs. A three-wheeler, if you take 3 batteries into it, let's say 6, 7, 8 kilowatt hours, you're talking about modular 15 kgs. But when you talk about a car, you're talking about a 50 kilowatt hour. It's a 350 kgs. You need a robotic application to do that, right? Right. Or when you talk about a bus, it's a 3-ton this thing. You need a robotic application. When we talk about India, in the Western world, there are hardly any three-wheelers. And two-wheelers are very different. The two-wheelers are more for luxury, and it's a lifestyle thing. In India, two-wheelers and three-wheelers are our need, and and battery swapping gives a very apt solution because it's very easy to do, and it's cheaper if we are able to just reduce 40% of the cost of the vehicle by reducing the battery from it. It just makes a lot of sense for the people who actually buy a vehicle for their livelihood.
So the leasing model, battery swapping model is what you feel would be a more favored market for India.
Battery swapping leasing model also, Gautam, and think about it. Let's say 120,000 rupee bike, 1,20,000 rupees, right? If you're able to get it and somebody is buying it because he wants to deliver goods, right? Or whatever it is, let's say Hero Nix, for example, it's 120,000 rupee bike today. But if you are able to do a swapping solution in it, you will get the bike in 60, 70,000 rupees. Upfront cost is reduced significantly. And the kind of opportunity cost for people who are buying this bike, if you're taking a micro credit loan or all, can be very, very high. Everybody has a different propensity there. So it makes a lot of sense for swapping in that case. And you are actually detaching the entire issue. First of all, detaching the technology by detaching the battery from there. You're not worried about how long will the battery last, because it doesn't belong to you. You don't worry about the quality because it doesn't belong to you. Don't worry about how, you just keep on using the vehicle, using the batteries in the system.
Interesting. So you purchase the product, you don't purchase the battery, and you keep it two separate things.
Absolutely. And it's
easier than the pocket.
Absolutely, very counterintuitive. We have many cases in Vijayawada, in Chandigarh, where the auto drivers have driven more than 130,000 kilometers. And now when we are coming with a new type of a battery, their range is increasing. So when they started, they were getting, let's say, 70, 80 kilometers per swap. Now they're getting 100 plus kilometers per swap because we are coming with a new battery. So very counterintuitive that after 3 years, their vehicle is going to give them more, range without anything invested. So it's there is an absolute use case out there for this.
Interesting. So we're getting a lot of questions. So I'll just quickly run them through. Yeah. The next one is from an anonymous attendee, don't know the name. Is saying for battery swapping to ever have a chance at becoming a mainstream technology, interchangeable battery packs that are similar for various manufacturers must be found. How are battery swapping tackling the situations? That is an interesting question.
Very interesting question again. And see, ideal world, we want to have this done, that any battery can go into any vehicle, can go into any station. But the fact of the matter is that where we are today, let's say the safety aspect is not very well covered in the interoperability today, because let's say Sun Mobility is making a battery, the kind of work that it is doing to make that battery is very different from a company B, which might be making that battery. Their stations will be very differently designed to handle their batteries, right? And my station would be very differently designed to handle my battery. And let's say there are more than 50 vehicles who will be using this battery. And if it goes into any of the vehicles, something goes wrong, and it can be a nightmare situation. So yes, it's something that we want to do. Everybody wants to do, but I think in the nascent stage as of today, looking at safety, it's very, very difficult to have interoperability in function, because then everybody will have to do a lot of work and testing to ensure that anybody's battery that comes into their station, it has it is very sure that nothing will go wrong. And you're talking about Six Sigma sort of precision there, because you can't have a fire-like situation. And if my battery goes and has a fire in a Reliance Jio battery station, who's responsible for it? Am I responsible, or is Reliance Jio responsible for it? How is the insurance company going to handle that? Because I'll say it's not my station. There was a problem with the Reliance Jio station. Anybody can say anything, and the liability cannot be, very clearly put. So we need, a lot of work needs to be done to see how we can do interoperability today.
Interesting. So just to add to that, for me to understand, do you actually see like how current petrols, if you go to any gas station, you have petrol, you have diesel, you have premium petrol, etc. Do you feel that things like this would also come for the battery industry, where you'll have, say, a Honda, a Hyundai, a Maruti, all having their own separate stations within one, say, battery hub?
No, so what will happen is, maybe let's understand this. I'll take an example of Sun Mobility and Reliance Jio, right? So today, let's say I work with, Sun Mobility works with Piaggio, and they've come together to create a new product, let's say a Piaggio Ape loader that I was showing you. So it's a new SKU, right? And then GOBP also works with Piaggio to create a product which is using their battery. So if you go to a Piaggio dealership today, you will see a product of Piaggio with the fixed battery. Then you will see a product of Piaggio with Sun Mobility battery. Then you will see a product of Piaggio with a Reliance Jio battery. And then the customer will walk in and say, he will decide, depending, let's say how you decide today, you want a Jio SIM or Airtel SIM. You will decide based on your feedback and understanding of the market that, no, I want to go with Sun Mobility because it has a better network. I see a lot of Sun Mobility things, I've heard better things about them. I will go ahead with that. And then, so they will be swapping infrastructure provider, which will be the likes of Sun Mobility and Jio, BP and Honda swap. Honda is coming, but it is integrating with multiple. So everybody is integrating. So I'm working with the Ampere, I'm working with Hero Electric, I'm working with Piaggio. So I will be working with multiple OEMs. Jio, BP will. So you will see these stations at different places. And yeah, it will not be OEM specific. It would be battery charging operator specific stations.
Interesting. I'm looking forward to looking at that then.
Yeah.
So next question from Manish Kumar. He's saying, when is the swapping policy being ruled out, and what is the benefits the government is going to pass on to customer?
That battery swapping policy should be in place, I think, anytime by end of August. That's what we are looking for. Yeah.
Sure. Quickly move on to the next one from Ashish. He's saying, does segregating the vehicle from the battery enable any differentiation in taxation or incentives to help bring the total cost of the ownership? This has already been covered, but if you have any extra points, Anant would be happy to share.
So see, if you remove the battery, there are, today it's not a very, that's what we are working, and the inputs that were given to the policy makers was that, when you are buying a vehicle today with a battery, you get a 5% GST, right? You can actually buy a vehicle without the battery. EV vehicle without the battery is also 5% GST. But if you buy a battery separately, then you're paying 18% GST. So they're trying to harmonize it today, right? So there is a bit of a differential there today between 18% GST if you buy battery separately from a vehicle. But I think after the battery swapping policy draft is finalized, that would be taken off.
Thank you. The next question is from Deepak. He's asking, what is the weight of batteries for a three-wheeler? I was told battery swapping is feasible only for two-wheelers. Would like your views, please.
So battery swapping is feasible for a two-wheeler, for an e-rickshaw, for e-auto, for loaders, for even quadricycle. So think of so it's not about three-wheelers. So think of it as a modular battery, which is, let's say, anywhere between 10 kgs to 13 kgs, right? One battery, which is anywhere from 1.2 kilowatt hour to 2.1, 2.3 kilowatt hour. So for a bike, you need only one battery. For an e-rickshaw, you need two batteries. So you put two batteries of 12 kgs each into the e-rickshaw slots. And an e-auto, you would need three batteries. So 13 into 3, 39 kgs. But each of the batteries, only the same battery is going in three, you are using three batteries. A loader might use four batteries. A quadricycle might use four batteries. But each of the batteries weighing between 10 to 12 kgs. And then using multiple of them.
Thank
So
you.
it doesn't matter. So and technically speaking, battery swapping is even feasible for a LCV like Tata Ace. We are working on Tata Ace as well to see whether we can do a swapping in Tata Ace as well. So technically it is feasible. It's just how many batteries you want to do it, and is it making a commercial sense or not?
Okay. Deepak has an interesting question. For cars, instead of using single large battery, is there any possibility of splitting the large battery into 3 to 4 smaller batteries and have separate charging connector to reduce the charging time?
I would not be able to answer this. I'm sorry, I'm not a technical guy. I can talk about swapping, but technically speaking, I'm sorry, I won't be able to answer that question. No.
Deepak, if I will try to get your answer maybe from somewhere else, then maybe someone who is more of a charging background. This is more for a battery swapping background. So I'll come on to the next one. What are the business opportunities for small investors to participate in basis the supply chain you have shown here?
So a lot of opportunities are there, for example, a lot of work is being done in the battery swapping side. So creating a lot of, battery swapping stations. So right from people who are in infrastructure to create all these stations, we're talking about thousands and thousands of stations across India, right? Everybody will be making these stations, these stations. So a lot of work will be there. You're talking about, a lot of, in terms of stations, a lot of fabrication work will be there. You're talking about, when you talk about on the vehicular side, a lot of motors requirement will be there, when we are trying to integrate. So how you're working. So people are going, a lot of indigenous work is going on right now. When you want to take subsidy, government has completely said nothing from China, nothing from outside. You want to develop it all inside. So a lot of work on, the motors, on the tires, on everything has to be locally engineered. So the work is absolutely for the auto ancillary industry is fantastic, the way it is going right now. The powertrains, the motors, the controllers, a lot of work is going on in Coimbatore, and I think we need a lot of companies coming up to see whether they can make a better powertrain or a better controller, which we were all hitherto getting out from outside India. And then if you really want to see, a lot of work needs to be done in the cell side. There is not a single cell manufacturer in India. Today, the cells are being manufactured outside India and then brought in. So investments in cell manufacturing, then maybe tomorrow you want to have a lot of work in contract manufacturing of batteries, right? So, if you can work out as a battery manufacturer or assembler of cells, the opportunities are amazing across the board.
Thank you. So Shashank is asking, is saying and then asking, he's saying that battery swapping looks like limited to company, like vehicle sold by Dun Mobility OEM partner. Even that will be limited to a model or a type of BMS. So his question is, how do you predict of collaboration among battery swapping companies for better penetration of market and general awareness?
So, yeah, you're right. That battery swapping is dependent OEM to, so let's say one company and one model, but it's not dependent on model, it's definitely dependent on company. So let's say if I integrate with Piaggio, and then we will ensure that we will integrate few models of Piaggio with Sun Mobility, and then the same battery goes in all these models, right? So you integrate model by model for safety reasons. And how do we work together with other battery swapping providers? I think a lot of work needs to be done there. Then we have to harmonize the stations, the battery making, the cells, the batteries that you're making. So Japan has done that. If you have heard, 5 companies in Japan came together, Yamaha and KTM and Honda and all these companies came together. But there the issue is it's only Honda which is making the battery in the stations. Rest all are OEMs. Right, so there is harmonization there. So we have to see how to work it out here, how 2-3 players can come together to create a specific solution. But still, I think a lot of work needs to be done there. But theoretically, yes, it's possible.
Thank you. Quickly go on to the next one. Do you see the trend of increasing capacity of the pack as the cost of batteries fall? Where does swapping work in case there is a range of 100+ kilometers on EV two-wheelers? Case in point is Tata has come out with Nexon Max, Ather has increased their capacity.
So, very interesting question. First of all, the most important thing is the battery swapping, the very reason for battery swapping is that you are range independent. Battery swapping actually in theory gives you infinite range, because you know, where, let's say if you are in Delhi or in Bangalore and if you have a station in a 2 by 2 kilometer grid, every 2 kilometers you have a station, then you are not worried about range. You just, it takes less than 40 seconds on a two-wheeler to change a battery, right? You take out the depleted battery, put a new battery, and off you go. So why are you worried about range? When the range, so you need more range when you have a fixed battery like 80 kilometers, 100 kilometers, because you want to ensure that you are going to charge only one time overnight. You need 7-8 hours of charge, so you want to ensure that it gives you sufficient range to carry you through the day. But when in swapping network, when you have to not worry about the range because it's everywhere, the idea should be more about a more, you know, a pack which is much more easily handleable. I don't want to make a 20 kg pack and pack 150 kilometers in that. I would rather make a 12-13 kg pack which is easily, you know, maneuverable, and ensure that it's there. But overall, even today, battery swapping, all, let's say we are having two-wheelers which can give around 80 kilometers easily, right, with the kind of battery packs that are coming. In a three-wheeler with a 3 battery solution, you can get 80-90 kilometers. With a 4 battery solution, you can get 100+ kilometers. So that's there, you know, easily with one swap, you can get 100-120 kilometers on a battery pack on one swap today as well.
Thank you. So Kaval is asking, which is briefly already shared by you, but I'll just, if there's anything extra, maybe he's added to it. Battery in EV has significant cost while selling 2 or 3-wheeler used market. What kind of value and consumer can a consumer expect? Will it be lower than conventional methods?
So if I understand correctly, the question is, let's say if they want to sell the vehicle in the used vehicle market without the battery.
Correct.
Without the battery.
No, it's not saying without the battery, just with the battery. I feel the whole thing.
So they will see. I think today maybe the market is too nascent for this. A fixed battery, I think you know, it will depreciate very fast if you want to sell it off in the market, because you know, the market is not yet mature for the after sales of fixed battery today. For the swappable battery, you're actually selling without the battery, so nothing goes wrong, because the battery you don't own any which ways. So maybe the used vehicle value of a swappable battery vehicle would be much more closer to what somebody was buying for, but a fixed battery will be very different.
Okay. The next question is something which you had covered right before this, where you spoke about collaborations between OEM players and players like swapping batteries like you, which is either a Reliance or a Sun Mobility. So they're asking, are you saying that OEMs wouldn't know how to build batteries, but a standalone player like a swapping solution provider such as you would know it best? Isn't the motor and controller specifications more to building battery packs? Also, who takes insurance of the charging or swapping stations? OEM, swap provider, or location provider?
Fantastic question. So, you know, the thing is, by very nature, you know, when a startup work on something, you know, let's say when a Mahindra or Bajaj, they can do it if they want to do it, right? But it is not, if I take example of Sun Mobility today, we have been in this business for 5 years now, right? I have 150 R&D engineers. I have 100+ engineers working. So we have been working for last 3.5-4 years to develop this technology. So yes, and it takes time. It's not about the money; it's about the time that is required, and that's why, you know, it comes into this shape. So if Bajaj wants to do it today or Mahindra wants to, they can do it, but it will take their time, and then they will also say whether they want to get into this or not. So you have to prioritize. So they would rather say, okay, I would go into a fixed battery on my own and a swappable battery with a player, because in a swappable battery you have to also set up the entire network. It's not only about the battery, it's also about the network, because if you want to sell a swappable battery solution, you have to have the swappable battery charging stations everywhere. You want to take that call that whether you want to do it or not, or you want to say partner with a very good company to create an offer like I was explaining, and fixed battery they want to do it on their own. So that's where the situation is. If they want to do it, absolutely yes. When Sun Mobility can do it, you know, Bajaj and Mahindras can definitely do it if they want to put theirs. But it's about time, and it's also about the focus and where they want to play, right? Second is that overall battery swapping is a very capex intensive game, right? And there will be hardly after 3-4 years 4-5 big players in this, because you're talking about a lot of investments going on, and I think you will see a lot of consolidation where big OEMs will partner with a couple of big battery swapping players, and that's how you will see, like, it might be like Airtel and Jio 5 years down the line.
Thank you. So I'll just take one more question. I know there are a few more, but what I'll do is post this, I'll just share with you over mail. Any pending question, I'll revert the same with the concerned person, as we actually have another session right after this. So the question is from Sudhanshu, which is, I wanted to touch upon this because he's talking about the rural market. He's saying that India has a poor security infra in villages and small towns where even a non-man ATM is at risk. How will this issue tackle for a battery ATM in which areas which service the bulk of two-wheeler market?
Yeah, a good question again. Sorry, I forgot to answer one of the part of the questions asked earlier regarding who takes the insurance of the batteries, and so it lies on the on the Sun Mobility, for example, the battery swapping players. So battery swapping players own the batteries and the charging stations. So any insurance, they take the insurance, and they are responsible for any theft or damage or repair. It's not the OEM. So I think that answers the question. In this specific question, it's a very valid point, and we go through it. That how do you ensure the security of your asset management, and asset security is a very big question mark. So that's why when we are talking about today, mostly we are rolling it out from tier 1 and tier 2 cities, right? But we are trying to ensure that everything that we are managing is through technology, because it's not about manpower. So today, for example, we are working to ensure that our batteries cannot be taken out of the station without proper authentication, and also a lot of work is happening to ensure that you can reduce that theft or that vandalism through technology. You're putting a lot of things, but yes, there is an issue which will I think a lot of education and awareness is required, but undoubtedly this is something that I think all the players are facing on the market today.
Thank you so much, Anant. It was such an insightful and engaging session. It was a privilege to hear you, and our guests and I have been hooked until the end, and you can surely see that as they've taken home several nuggets. And also thank you to the leaders in the audience for joining us and for staying till the end, for always asking excellent questions.
Thank you. Questions were really good, and I really enjoyed. Thank you so much.
Just a request for the pending questions. I'll just have it sent to you. It would be great if you could just give your brief answers, and I'll share the same with you.
Thank you
so much for your time.
Thank you.